So admit it. How many viewers that love peanut butter have ever been known to grab a teaspoon or more of peanut butter directly from the jar? Is that you? Oh, let's talk about it. Back in a minute. Hi, I'm Jan from New York City. My channel name is Jan from New York City. Saves money, and I really, really love helping people to keep some more of their hard-earned money. Come on. You know it's late at night. Nobody's looking. You get to your own secret stash. Of what? Of peanut butter. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You take out that little spoon or two or even three, and there you go eating out of the jar. Instead of doing that, why don't you just make a homemade peanut butter cookie? I want to talk to you today about peanut butter cookies and other cookies. About 10 years ago, there was a really cute looking, mom and pop looking small bakery uh, walking around in some area in the city. And the display window was absolutely gorgeous. I mean, you just want to like literally put your hand through the window and grab a cookie. Only one problem, and they were selling basic cookies, nothing gourmet about them at all whatsoever. Basic cookies, let's say that you would make or your grandma would make. I'm trying to fix my slipper as I speak. Yeah, I work in my slippers sometimes. Beats the old days of the heels, but that's another show. Okay. So I'm walking by and there were these like fairly large cookie though. All right. It was fairly large. I would say like the size of like a personal pan pizza type size. So it was pretty large, but they were also very expensive. I mean, from the sublime to the ridiculous in price, in my honest opine. Just saying. These are things we could do at home. These are things we can make at home. Maybe not exactly the way that person did, but who's to say we can't try our own twist on things? Am I right or am I right? So let's get right over to the cookie recipe. And this is for a basic peanut butter cookie. And in all probability, you probably have all the ingredients right in your home or apartment. So if you want to get a pen, some people say check the transcript for the recipe. That's not a bad idea. All right, so you're going to need 1 stick of softened butter, a half a cup of sugar, white, a half a cup of packed brown sugar. Now, if you do not have packed brown sugar, then just swap it out for 1 cup of white granulated. Next, a half a teaspoon of cinnamon. That's optional, but I happen to like cinnamon. I think it gives like a little bit of a autumnal warmth to the cookie and flavor. I don't know. That's how I feel about it. But again, optional. 2 eggs. Strong suggestion. Take out your 2 eggs. Let it sit at room temperature for about half hour to an hour. All right. You're going to need 1 cup of peanut butter. Here's where it gets a little fun. You can either use the creamy version or you can consider the peanut butter as the crunchy version. That works, whatever you like. The crunchy version, of course, gives you more texture, a little bit of a nut flavor, and why not? 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. If you have the imitation and no other vanilla, you could use that. If you have the real vanilla, be my guest, use that. 2 teaspoons of baking soda. Baking soda, okay? 1 teaspoon of salt. And 2.5 cups of flour. Now, you're going to preheat your oven to 350 degrees. You're going to line your baking sheets with parchment paper. Now, here's a suggestion. I would cream together the softened butter, the sugar, whether it's all white or whatever way you prefer. But I think the little bit of each is a nice flavor combination. And you could add your half a teaspoon of cinnamon as you're creaming it. Okay. Add your 2 eggs to that creamy mixture. And the dry ingredients like the baking soda, the flour, and the salt set aside in another bowl. And then you're going to add your 1 cup of peanut butter, creamy or smooth. You could mash it down, whirl it together. Some people prefer working with a mixer to do that. It's actually a messier thing. I'd rather manually do it. Okay. And sometimes this sounds a little gross, but using clean hands, making sure they're nice and clean, you can literally, unless you want to wear like plastic gloves, whatever you want, mush your hands into the mixture and just, I know it sounds crazy, pretend you're making meatballs. That type of a thing. Now, as far as measuring out each cookie round, I would suggest getting about like a tablespoon, tablespoon worth, like a tablespoon that you use on the table. Take one of those out, take it, roll it, make little balls out of it, put a dozen on your parchment paper. Then you could take a little flour, flour your hands, flatten them. Then you get a fork, and then you do crisscross if you want, optionally. It's just a peanut butter cookie tradition to look at those little crisscrosses, but nothing will happen to them if you don't do that. So like I said, your oven is preheating to 350 degrees. Honestly, I would start checking in on them at about 10 minutes. Some recipes call for 12 minutes, 10 to 12 minutes. I've seen variation in recipes even higher than that. But you know your oven. Some ovens are right on, some ovens are not right on. Double check. Start looking at about 9 to 10 minutes, believe it or not. Okay. Now, once you take them out of the oven, do not immediately remove the cookies. No, no, no. I know the temptation is great. Leave it sitting there for about a good 5, even 8 minutes. Just let it sit on the tray. Then you take your spatula and then carefully remove the cookies, and you could put it on a baking rack and all that. Make sure they are completely cooled. Make sure they are completely cooled. There you go. I've actually researched some other recipes, and some recipes call for shortening. How many of you are viewing actually use shortening in your peanut butter cookies? Do you prefer to work with shortening? Does it change the texture in any way? I'm not terribly familiar with cookies that actually use shortening in them, but I have heard of this on occasion. I was just wondering. Listen, you can't go wrong with peanut butter cookies. Look at these basic ingredients. Think about this. Most people have sugar. Maybe not necessarily brown sugar. I use another trick. Whenever there's a recipe for brown sugar, this is me personally talking now. What I will do, because I love cinnamon, I will incorporate, like, let's say about a quarter cup of ground cinnamon with my white sugar. And that's my excuse of brown sugar. It works for me. Just say, hey, listen, what works for you? That's what counts. But instead of sitting around, spooning out peanut butter like that, just go a little couple of steps and you have yourself some peanut butter cookies. Just a mention for the folks that, want a lower sugar or sugar-free type of peanut butter cookie. I can assure you that there are many recipes out there. I remember once on, that famous doctor with his low-carb doctor person, I believe that his just basically was, looking back, was peanut butter, the eggs with a rising agent, and whatever sweetener that you would use, okay, non-sugar sweetener, and bake them off for about 9 minutes. That's essentially the recipe. It's that simple. So I wanted to remember you there. Well, anyway, Have a wonderful day. Thank you for being here. Please don't forget to smash down the like button. It helps in the algorithm. And let's do what this lady does a little more often. Hey, don't forget to come back next week for another cookie recipe. Have an amazing day. Take good care now. Bye bye.